stuff here. Awesome. Well, I hope everyone's doing. I hope all of you are doing the things, and if you're not doing the things, at least enjoying life and spending time with the ones you love. Uh, I gotta tell you, the last 3 weeks have been quite interesting, in particular the last week and a half. That's been, hey, coffee, that's been something different to behold. Uh, watching a guy get sniped on television, that's pretty awful. Hey, Canadian. Hey, KP Coffee. So I was watching the news yesterday, and I gotta admit, as bad as I feel for what happened to Mr. Kirk, I'm like, okay, I gotta watch something else. So I went down the science fiction rabbit hole about Three Eye Atlas and it's a spaceship and all the hypotheses and all the astrophysicists coming up with explanations. So I was getting my science nerd on, and I come across one article, and it said the biggest search on Google in the last 2 weeks. Hey, oops. So I'm like, okay, I bite. And hey, Teresa. And I jump onto the video and I watch it. And the biggest Google search in the last 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever it is, has been Civil War coming from the US and from Germany, the UK, and Canada. All of those countries in the last couple of weeks to a month, depending on what's going on in those countries. Hey, Neil, has taken off. Like it spiked the algorithm to where the algorithm measures from 0 to 100 as a percentage of searches. And according to this software guy, some software guru, he said basically when it hits 100, the algorithm stops counting. It's just like it is the maximum search that's tracked as a percentage of whatever. And it's weird to hear that, because we do talk about civil unrest, and they've had the movie is called Civil War, which actually is a pretty good movie. You had, what was the one with that the Obamas were involved with and everyone freaked out, but it was actually a half decent movie. Leave the World Behind. And there've been a few others, right? Some really decent ones, and you're like, it's Netflix and TV worthy. You buy a pizza, have a few beers, watch an interesting take on the universe. But that was kind of, hey, Niels. Thank you, Neil. I appreciate that. So it's, hey, Jules, it's interesting. There've been a lot of people losing their jobs lately because, much like happened during COVID, people didn't want to mask up, didn't want to do the medicine, didn't want to do certain things. They spoke out about it. They were getting canceled. They were getting suspended. They were getting fired. Now it's happening the other way, and they're going on videos and they're crying. And the Angry Prepper made a hilarious video about that, and about people crying and having meltdowns. And I think he said they're showing their psychosis or whatever. He was on a rant, and it was a very funny one. So go search him. It's one of his shorter videos, his 6-minute videos he does during the day. But there've also been a lot of people who got on videos and they were upset. They were crying from both sides of the political spectrum, saying, this has got to stop. Like, at what point does it end? Mandami, the guy running for mayor in New York, who's pretty much communistic in his views, he said, look, we got to stop. This is going to end badly for a lot of people, and it's going to get ugly. And somebody pointed out that he is kind of becoming, him and AOC are kind of becoming like the Charlie Kirks of the left. And some of his advisors are like, you need to shun this and reject that, because who's to say someone won't come to you and say, you know what? You hurt our guy, so we're going to hurt your guy, and then it becomes retaliatory. And I think that's what scares me the most, is there's an undertone now that no matter how kind or tolerant you are to people with different views, certain groups will want to cause you harm, and they've made it clear on the internet they would do it, like they wouldn't care. And that is concerning. The people who advocate this stuff very often are never the ones you see in the street. You look at the BLM riots, right? Most of the arrests they had were actually white kids, not like, it's Black Lives Matter, but it was white kids who were Antifa or some other race. There was one picture they put up there, and they arrested like 25 people. There were 2 Hispanics, 1 random black dude, which I don't even think he thought he was supposed to be there. And everyone else that got arrested was like from Seattle or Portland. They weren't even from that state. And it was just really weird to behold. But what they were doing was antagonizing the cops. The cops would react and they would run away, and then everyone else was fighting. And that is the kind of thing that concerns me. And I made a video last night. I released a video about Black Swan events. And in the comments, someone brought up a false flag. So a false flag is a little different than a black swan. A black swan would be like the Carrington event, right? Like nobody knew that the sun did these things. And then boom, the sun sends a solar flare and basically EMP'd Europe. Or the Kosciuszko meteorite. Like at the time, nobody could look at the stars with that kind of resolution. And paid protesters, yeah, I wouldn't surprise me. Living off of mommy's money, yeah. So, whereas a false flag would involve someone manipulating a situation to make what appears to be a Black Swan event, but it doesn't meet the criteria because it's not unexpected because somebody caused it. A true Black Swan would be, we're all sitting here on YouTube and a meteor hits the Kremlin. Like, who knew, right? Unless someone has magic and they can make the meteors drop. Okay, Lyric Boss, I made a pretty descriptive video yesterday on my channel, but to give you a quick summary, a Black Swan event would be an event that it fulfills 3 criteria. When it happens, it was completely unexpected from anybody who was experiencing the event. 2, it's so catastrophic or so epic that it either changes the course of a nation or the world as far as politics or behavior. And 3, after some period of time looking back, it became apparent how it happened. But at the time, nobody either understood the information or they were missing information such that they could accurately predict the event, if that makes sense. So, for instance, COVID. Now we look back and we're like, oh, well, the Wuhan lab had this, that, and the other, and, it was already spreading, and, you can kind of put pieces together. But at the time when it happened, people just were like, what the hell? And hence you had people hoarding toilet paper. It came out of nowhere for a lot of folks, most folks, even though some people were paying attention, a lot didn't. 2, it definitely changed the world as we knew it. And 3, looking back now, it makes sense. So I hope that kind of explains the Black Swan concept. But again, one of those things, every country dies. Yeah. And I'm going to wish anything bad on, because that's... No, and I think it's Adam's Auto. Sorry, I don't have my glasses. I don't need them, ironically. I don't need them to, like, see a mile away, but to see from here to there, yeah, I need them. No, and I don't. And there are a lot of people who would be liberal, and I view someone liberal like Bill Maher. I don't agree with a lot of what he says, but he was like kind of Charlie Kirk's approach. He would talk to anyone. He'd invite them to the show. They'd debate, but it would be respectful, suit and tie, sit at the table, have a coffee, and we would discuss, and they'd get passionate. But that's what it's supposed to be like. I think A, you think B, So instead of being violent, we sit down over a coffee or a drink and we try and hash out, well, do you think A or B? We may come away not changing our minds, but at the very least, people have a new viewpoint, or they now understand the other guy's view. So it kind of opens minds when you do that. But point being, there are a lot of people, yeah, Oliver, that was awful. And the fact that his kids were there, that I think that upset the shit out of me. You know, yeah, it's sad. But point being, there are a lot of people who saw all this go down and they're seeing all the other stuff happen and they're like, hey, this is enough. We've got to stop. But there seems to be a percentage, and there's little groups on both sides, to be honest, who want to see it. And so I thought it was interesting that when I watched that video, this internet researcher was actually saying, yeah, like, so UK, Germany, Italy, France, the US and Canada, I think. I may have the countries wrong. I know the US for sure and the UK for sure. These searches for civil war, not even insurrection, straight up civil war, actually maxed out the algorithm that tracks it. And it only tracks it from 0 to 100, 100 being the highest search numbers in the last, I think it's a 6 months rolling average or something like that. So in the last 6 months or a year, the term civil war spiked out the entire search algorithm going back like a year, if that makes sense. So it's yeah, Higgy, the kids were there, and that makes me feel bad. That was awful. And what concerns me is I'm now seeing the frustration in almost everyone. There was a guy protesting. Are you gonna hit my car? I'm like literally parked on the other side of the lot. They come around. There's a video. They were having a prayer vigil, and they actually had different groups. They actually had like an LGBT group with a church group, and they were all gathering, and they were holding a vigil for Charlie Kirk and other people who've died for this kind of violence. And it was a bunch of people actually came together, and then some monkey, some little hipster guy who's probably lives in mom's basement, came over and started pushing people and kicked over the display and was kicking the candles. And the people got angry and they just beat his ass. They legit kicked his ass. They dragged him around. They were punching him. They kicked him. Somebody took his shoes off and threw his shoes away. Like some little woman just came over and said, you know what, I'm too small to kick your ass, so I'm going to throw your shoes. And she chucked his shoes. And then the cop came, and the cop's face was priceless, because he walks over and he's like, what the hell are you doing? And then they kind of explained. So he arrested the idiot without his shoes. I don't know where the hell the shoes went away. And it's interesting when you look at that, because I think civilized people, the Americans in general, regardless of where we land on the spectrum, we're kind of tired. It's like, enough of this. Can't we just be decent? And if that becomes the trend, that would be excellent. What kind of scares me is that those search engines and some of these mathematical algorithms where the outcome could turn very negative. And unfortunately, I think there's certain people who just want to dig in. They just want to dig in. I will cite, I'm a big movie buff. Earth is flat, not joking. I'll tell you what, in my part of Texas, it's damn well flat. Although we have cactus and small hills. But point being, one of the best movie quotes I heard was, I think it's, not The Dark Knight. It was Christian Bale as Batman, the second movie, with Heath Ledger as the Joker. And Alfred tells Batman, because Batman's like, well, he's like all the other criminals, and he says, no, the other criminals had motivation, money, power, influence, but then there's some that just want to see the world burn, even if it hurts everyone around them. I may be screwing up the movie quote. It was Michael Caine playing Alfred, but it was true. There are just some people who don't want to have, you can't have flat on a ball. Mike, it's humor, but yeah, you know what? You're annoying. Bye. All right, be gone, doofus. Hey, Kane, what's going on? You may get hacked. Hey, you may get hacked. I had to read that twice. I'm like, you may get hacked? Oh, I see what you did there. Folks, all we can do, we can't influence that, but we can influence our circle. And we all, Four Horsemen kind of touched on this on our last video. You can lead conversations with respect. You're not always going to get it back, but then it tells you who you're dealing with, right? I found 9 out of 10 times, if I come to someone who I don't know and I'm interacting with them and I lead with something respectful or polite, I almost always get it back. I always get a response of the same energy. So I would recommend to all of us, pay attention, be mindful, but lead with respect, lead with compassion. Remember that everyone's battling something, right? Everyone's battling something. We all are at some level. It doesn't mean we need to be ugly to each other. And when you see that person who, no matter how you approach them, is still ugly or horrendous or violent, or those are the ones we got to watch for. Those are the ones who can cause hurt. Those are the ones who want to see the world burn. So do I think we'll have civil war? I think we're going to see shifts. We already saw one in the US. I think we're in the middle of it now. But I do believe the UK is going to see it. In the UK, they just burned down a mosque in Scotland, I believe, because of the rape of a young female at the hands of some of the immigrants that were there. And then the cops didn't arrest the immigrants, so they burned the police car to boot. That's going to be interesting. I would watch the UK. Italy, I think Italy's swinging toward being Italian again. So I'm not worried about Italy. The Polish kicked everyone they didn't want out anyway, so did the Romanians. So they kind of took care of their own problem. But as far as the US, it's not the folks in general. I think what we're going to see is you're going to see these fringy types trying to do the false flags, or even worse, just trying to outright create chaos, as you may get hacked pointed out. Outright try to harm others just to see the world burn, because some people are like that. Those are the ones we have to watch for. Those are the ones we need to be alert to. But I intend to do what I've always done. I will treat people with respect. I will treat them with dignity unless they give me a reason not to. But be ready to smack someone down if it comes to that. Hopefully not. And keep doing the things. Check your pantries. Make sure your vehicle has fuel. Make sure your car is in good shape. If your job's not too stable, rewrite that resume now while you have a chance, and start seeing if there's another opportunity for you, so you don't get caught blindsided if you get laid off, because the economy is kind of doing weird stuff. If you have the money to get that higher end product, the solar generator or backpack, whatever it is on your list, now's a great time to do it. And other than that, folks, look, try to do the right things. And I can live with trying to do the right things at the end of my life, looking back and saying I wasn't the asshole. But there are a-holes out there, and you may have to deal with them. So, react accordingly as needed. But anyway, I thought it was interesting that the term civil war had maxed out the search algorithms in the very countries that are right now experiencing cultural shifts. So let's see how this pans out, folks. Let's see what happens. In the meantime, keep doing your things. Remember, save money. Your energy, your time, and your space are valuable. And very often, especially time, you don't get that back. So use them wisely. You guys be careful, be safe out there. God bless, and I will see all of you later on this week.